back to Pastor's Point. We are interviewing somebody very special that's with us today. They're associated with one of our campuses, and we've gotten to know them. Pastor Marisol.
Yeah, good job.
You're from Chicago area, and you are the director of Chicago Dream Center,
Correct.
which is kind of like an LA Dream Center model, but it's right here locally. Well, not locally, a couple hours away in Chicago. And how long have you been doing that for?
So I've been doing that since 2017.
Okay. And you grew up in Chicago. So
Yep, born
how
and
did you
raised.
get plugged into the Dream Center? Like how did you even get plugged in with the church and all of that?
Yeah, so it's hard not to be plugged in with the Dream Center because our church is really big on outreach, and it's the whole outreach arm. So I got saved in 2004, and by 2007, I was already being really well connected to the things that we were doing specifically for women. That's how the Dream Center started, that were on the streets in need of help. And so whenever our pastor did a call out, like, we need, beds, or we need, we're starting this program, we would all be involved. The whole church would get involved in it. And so I remember when he ran for the farm, for the women, we were all involved in,
So
cheering
Pastor
him on.
Choco ran for the farm to raise funds to purchase the property for the girls' farm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did he? How far did he run?
Yeah. So it was him and a team of, I believe, 6 people. We have a really cool video on our website of him doing that, met at the farm. And from there, they did passing of the Bible. So he started off the run, and then he would pass after a few miles, or I don't know how many miles, he would pass it on, the Bible, on to the next person. So they did running, and they also rode bike.
Wow.
And it took them 3 days
Wow.
too, because the weather also worked a little against them. And so it took them 3 days, and they were able to raise the funds to purchase the land, which would form the farm, which is actually called New Life for Women, but nobody calls it that. We all call it the farm.
Yeah.
And so they were able to purchase that land so that women can come and get out of the environment and have time to heal. And
Wow. So this is it was a vision that started in Chicago, and now it's in our own backyard.
Correct.
Right here in the Quad City area. And so the farm, tell us about the farm a little bit and what that ministry is out of the Dream Center.
Sure. And so the farm is a 12-month discipleship program. And during this 12-month, we always tell the girls when they call in, when they want to be part of it, that they will have Jesus for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so they're like, what does that mean? It's a place where there's no cell phones, no distractions. And we actually use like Teen Challenge curriculum to help teach the girls and help them to establish a relationship with Christ. And a lot of times the women have never had a relationship with Christ or anything like that, but we just love on them so much that they want to know why. Where does all this love come from? And we don't ask them for a penny. Like, this is all free. It's paid through the tithes and offerings of the people of our church and donors that give. And so they come and they live with us, and we take them in and treat them like our daughters and our sisters. And one of the girls, I remember, her name is Tiffany, and she's actually an intern now. She graduated. She's interning under us. And she said, I just didn't know what to do with myself because I've never received so much love right off the bat that I didn't know if it was real or what you wanted from me.
Wow.
And I remember telling her, we're going to love you until you can love yourself.
Wow.
And that stayed with her. And she actually shared it at graduation. She's like, you told, and I'm like, I remember that day. But we just want to show them the love. You can do a lot of talking, right? But just to demonstrate that love of Jesus really does some transformational stuff in their hearts. They've been used and abused by people, pimped out on the streets, not cared for by their parents, all different kinds of walks of life. And so love covers all of that. And so we start with love, and then slowly here's the Bible, and here's what, this is where the love that we have comes from. And they begin to, in phases, like undo all the like layers that they've been through. And sometimes by the year they're ready to go out. And sometimes they ask to stay longer. They're like, can we stay another, we don't feel that we're ready. And we allow that too, because we want them to be ready to go back out.
I love that statement. We're going to love you until you can love yourself. Because I think that's a key thing. I think even in America, you get outside of the inner city and you get into the suburban areas, and I think there's people that just struggle to love themselves. And then when Jesus told us to love your neighbor as yourself, you can't love your neighbor if you can't even love yourself.
Right.
And so there's so
Right.
much depth to that statement that's
Mhm.
powerful. But now, what does outreach look like at the Dream Center? Because you talked a little about the church. It started out, it was kind of a small church in Chicago, and you started reaching out, and all of a sudden, this thing just starts growing, and people
Mhm.
start showing up. And
Mhm.
now there's a need for a farm.
Yeah.
There's a need for reaching these ladies and discipling them, get them off drugs, and getting them out of
Mhm.
their atmosphere.
Mhm.
What did outreach look like for you guys?
Yeah, and so I remember one of the outreaches that we did, it was nuts. We were literally in service, and Pastor Choco at that time, Pastor De Jesus, Pastor Choco told us at service, we're going to go to the bus stop and we're going to get on the bus and we're going to start ministering to people. So it was kind of crazy outreaches like that. And I was nervous. I was a baby Christian. I'm like, I can't go to the bus stop. I was an ex-atheist. So I'm like,
Yeah.
what do I say? Like, but it pushed us out of our comfort zone. And he was really great at doing that. So when it pushed us out, I remember getting on the bus and just sitting there like, how am I going to talk to somebody? But there's always a need, like all around us. You don't have to
Yeah.
look at a person and say, oh, they look needy. Even the person that doesn't, has things they've been through. And so just a hello and is there anything I can pray for? And,
Yeah.
and with that question, you'll be so surprised what their response will be. Usually, almost always that I've experienced, and people are like, no, but those are like, yes, actually, and tears and just,
Yeah.
things like that. But we started doing outreach, ice cream outreach, whatever we could do to get outside the walls
Mhm.
because we're supposed to be able to, obviously empty hell and fill heaven. And we
Yeah.
can't do that if we're just, they're ministering to the same Christians who are in the church.
Right.
And so we started going out into the streets late in the midnight hour.
Mhm.
That was scary for a first time person who didn't really know much about Jesus, but going out with Rosa Sharon at night and handing a woman who's on the corner, a young girl who is underage, a rose and telling her, the Lord sent me to give you this
Wow.
rose, and looking at her in the eyes and saying, you are just as beautiful. And we know that life's damaged you. Maybe you've gone through some stuff, but he remembers you today. And he wants you to know that he sees you standing
Yeah.
here and he loves you. You may not be proud of what you're doing, but he loves you. And there is a way out of this. There's a card attached to this rose. Keep the card if you want to toss the rose, but keep it. And if you need help, we are here. We will come get you.
Mhm.
And you know how many times we've picked up a woman and that card is crumbled in their hands and they called and then they've gone through our program. And so, but that's from midnight to 4 a.m. on a Friday night when things are popping in Chicago.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because it's dangerous. And so, but if we try to preserve our lives, we'll lose it, right? And
Yeah.
so, who's going to go out there and talk to these girls, and so these women, and not only the women, we also minister to the pimps, to the Johns that are out there too.
Wow.
And so yeah, there's a place for all of them, and we just want them to know there's a church that loves you, will not judge you if you walk through those doors.
Yeah.
There's a place at the table for you, and so that really it impacts you as you serve
Yeah.
more than you think,
Yeah.
but it also makes you courageous, more courageous in doing the things that God calls you to do. And once you do it once, you feel like, okay, I can go out there and do more. You
Yeah.
build that courage to literally go after the lost sheep. And so,
Yeah. So what did the Dream Center look like in the last 20 months or whatever,
mhm,
like 2 years or through COVID and things like that? Because I think the um, mental health, things like that, I think we're at an all-time high.
mhm,
Suicide, depression, people isolated. So what did the Dream Center do in
mhm.
Chicago during that time to reach out?
Yeah, so I thought that COVID would put like a stop to the outreach.
Yeah.
It did not.
Yeah.
We were actually, as the, church offices were closed, we were actually, and a lot of things shut down. We were getting calls left and right for people who were in need. Bridge to Life, the homeless ministry, we were doing that every single day because in the beginning, when COVID first happened, everybody was so afraid that no one was going down in Lower Wacker Drive or in the areas where the homeless hide to check on them. And I remember going out with a couple people because everybody was afraid. And we went under, and the homeless were like, man, we haven't seen anybody in like 7 days. And all the McDonald's where they used to, be at where it was when it was cold were closed, 7-Elevens. They weren't getting able to get water, like a lot of places, Walgreens, places where
Hmm.
they would get their meals and things like that were shut down. They're like, we're so grateful that you're able to come out here. So that made us think like, okay, we need to do this more. And
Yeah.
so we started reaching out to other churches in Chicago and saying, hey, we need your help, like, and
Yep.
support. Don't be afraid. We'll mask up. We'll have sanitizer. We'll distance, but we can't stop doing the work,
Yeah.
And so we were really busy. And actually for the farm, we were getting so many calls because other programs said they wouldn't take anybody in because of COVID. And we're like, well, if you get tested and there's no symptoms, we're just gonna pray,
Yeah.
and you'll wear a mask for the first week or two
Yeah.
that you're with us, and we'll keep you in a separate room. But we couldn't turn it down because there was such a need. We had a long wait list during that
Wow.
time for women to come in, and so it was really busy. Food box outreaches, like we were getting trucks of food boxes delivered to us. We didn't know what to do, so we had to buy a refrigerated truck to put everything in, and we had cars coming through. It got so crazy busy that I went through spine surgery at that time, and I'm on the phone right after surgery, just making sure the logistics.
Everything's functioning. Oh my goodness.
On video calls with the other the assistant director, because she's like, I don't, it was from one day to the next. Things were just nuts, and so it was great. It's been a great experience, and we were also able to create good, solid partnerships during that time.
Yeah.
And so it's been a blessing to serve in that capacity. I thought it was going to slow down, but it just kind of took off.
It
So,
took off. I've heard that
yeah.
from a lot of people, and
Yeah.
especially in Chicago area. A lot of our pastors from Chicago said that they've seen an incredible amount, like Chicago Tabernacle and places like that. They've just seen a ton of outreach opportunities and jumped on it and seen just an incredible amount of people born again
Yeah.
as a result. So, man, when I've heard it said like this: the darker it gets, the brighter we shine.
Yeah.
And so that's what stars do too, and that's what we're called to do. Is the darker our culture gets and our society gets, the brighter we should shine, and the more opportunities that are there. So that's powerful. I was just reading this morning in my devotions about Nehemiah. He's building the wall, and he's completed it, and all they're lacking is the gates. And all these people are saying, Nehemiah, come down, we want to meet with you. And they kept sending the message, we want to meet with you. And he said, I've got a good thing going here. I'm doing a lot of work, a good work, and I can't take the time to meet with you. So they finally show up in person. And his friend, like people that tried to pretend like they were his friends, would say, come with me behind the locked doors of my home for safety. And here's what he said. He said, a man of my position could never do that. He said, I will intensify my work. And I was so blown away because we've been in a season, I think, as ministers and ministries where we're scratching our head wondering what's going on. But I think God is saying it's time to intensify the work. It's time to really focus and to really intensify what we're doing, not pull back into the safety of our home and bolt the door and protect ourselves. We're supposed to lay it out. Like you said, if we try to save our life, we'll lose it.
Yeah.
And I'm just so blown away by what you guys are doing. Tell me about how people can get engaged if they wanted to be a part of the farm, or what are the opportunities, even if it's just financial or if it's just coming out and helping or whatever that might be. What are the opportunities to get involved out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's so many ways to get involved with the Chicago Dream Center. We have also like a teen home. I had mentioned that before. And with the teen home, there's a need of mentors, and they're located near Elgin, Illinois. There's just a need of mentors. These boys need other men that are not just mom and dad, the parents,
Right.
the house parents, to come alongside of them and, intern with them or mentor them or just be a buddy, a pen pal, so there's just such a need for fellowship and family. And God just really takes care of them. For the farm, I would say that the need is life skills. If you have a life skill that you know would be a blessing to the girls, whether it's, you're a great cook, or you know how to sew, or you're really good at art, or you can teach an instrument, or you can teach music,
Yeah.
or you can help mow our lawn. Like the harvest is plenty, the workers are few. And so if you would like to volunteer or get in contact with us, it would just be info@chicagodreamcenter.org.
Okay.
Shooting an email there, and then we would get back to you rather quickly, because we love volunteers, and just letting us know that you're interested in involving yourself with the farm or with anything. If you go onto our website, which is chicagodreamcenter.org, you'll see the various services that we provide. And when I say anything, I mean, anything, organizing our books, donating books for the girls
Yeah.
to learn, or material, anything really. Even as they're exiting, having someone who can be an accountability partner.
Yeah.
There's always that exit is so important for them to have community.
Yeah.
Even inviting them to dinner, and just showing them the love of Christ and continuing. Because once they leave, they're in a bubble, they're in a farm for a year.
Yeah.
Once they leave, they're like, whoa, this is the real world again,
Yeah.
and so it's quite difficult sometimes for them to adjust. And I mean, we take donations. The girls are always in need of clothing and just different things, shoes, and they come from all different sizes, and so anything you can give, but most importantly, prayer.
Yeah.
So just committing to pray is really definitely something that we will always ask for.
Awesome.
You know,
So that's info at chicagodreamcenter.org.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, if you're interested in more information, check out the website, send an email, and if you need help, we can help you get connected with them as well. Because, man, there's a ton of great ministries out there, and sometimes I think we're scratching our head and wondering, God, can you use me? It doesn't matter if you're an immobilized elderly person, you can become a pen pal and love on a girl. And so there's opportunity there as long as there's breath in your lungs. So get plugged in, get involved in ministry, and be a light in a dark world. Thanks for joining us. God bless you. Have a good day.